Ben Kruger, who, like me, is a self-confessed Google Ads nerd, who after working in Google for many years, over the last year has left Google and has gone into the big bad business world, where he is managing many campaigns, with some of those campaigns spending up to $400,000 on a single day. So because of Ben's wealth of experience coming from inside of Google and now outside of Google, I wanted to meet with Ben so that we could talk all things Google Ads. Let's get straight into it. Okay, welcome. As you know, my name's Aaron Young and we've got Ben Kruger here. And rather than me getting some details wrong, Ben, why don't I give you the first 30 seconds so you can introduce who you are, and if you've got time to also give us a bit of a background on your work history, if you can do that in 30 seconds.
Let's do it. Well, first off, thanks for having me, Aaron. Really excited to be on your channel. I'm Ben. I am currently CMO of eventticketcenter.com. We're a secondary ticket reselling platform. We sell tickets to concerts and sports and theater shows, all through Google Search, or mostly through Google Search. Prior to that, I was a Google sales rep for 4 years, worked with hundreds of brands through that. And that's where I fell in love with Google Search, and I don't know, a bunch of stuff there that I got to enjoy. And
you've been involved in Google Ads for a long time. That's probably the main thing we're looking at.
Indeed.
Great. Well, look, one of the reasons I got you on here, Ben, is I've been following your. We can't call them tweets anymore. What is X? What are X's now? Do you call them?
I'm still a tweet guy.
Yeah, still a tweet guy. So, look, what I'm sort of dubbing here is I've got Ben, that you're probably one of the leaders with Google Ads on I was going to say Twitter, but X. So kind of wanted to merge my YouTube I guess audience with your X audience, and then we'll see how we go from there. All right, we're going to do a quick rapid fire just so that everyone gets to know a little bit about you. Give me some one word answers to these questions. So Mac or PC?
Mac.
Chat GPT. I was going to say Bard, but now it's Gemini.
Chat GPT for now.
That's going to be an interesting space to watch. And now let's get into the really fun ones. Pizza or tacos? Pizza, man after my own heart. And then beach or snow?
Beach, easy.
Hands down. Hey, look, we've got a lot more in common there than what we thought. So let's get into the serious questions now. So what I really wanted to, I guess, start off with is, in all of your experience, what do you think is the biggest misunderstanding that people have about Google Ads? And I really want to pitch this, not necessarily for new people, like people who have been on the platform for a while. What do you think the biggest misunderstanding is with Google Ads?
I think there are a few. I think it ranges from like there's a lot of people with a Google is evil mentality. I think that would cover like brand search tax that people think Google's placing, or obfuscating insights and data through something like PMAX.
Yeah,
I think there's that world, but I'll focus on, I think the biggest misconception is incrementality. I think a lot of people question whether Google's acquiring new customers for them or not, and I think that's because of their setup. I think a lot of e-commerce brands that I've partnered with are like Meta, Facebook first advertisers, and then just use Google for brand search. And of course, that's not going to be incremental, where of course the real opportunity with Google lies in non-brand and generic queries and finding people who have never heard of your business. And it's really hard to do. And I think people don't give it the time that it deserves to really crack it, and therefore have that misconception that it's not like driving incremental sales for a business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my view is that Google is neither good or evil. Like I just think it's actually neutral, and I've always approached it as trying to work out what Google wants, and then try to get your advertising campaign to work around that. And but at the same time, I definitely don't believe that Google has ultimately they've got their interests at heart. So I kind of go for success. You want to align your interests with their interests, and then they're going to recommend your ads and your campaigns.
That's exactly right.
I'm going to ask the same question, but then I'm going to go it's basically the same thing, but then it's about probably one of the newer, I guess, campaign types for Google Ads that has copped a bit of flack, and that's what's the biggest thing that you think people misunderstand about Performance Max campaigns? Apart from that it's the worst name ever for a marketing campaign. Or no, demand gen is even worse, actually.
Yeah, that is true. I was at Google for the PMax rollout. I think it was a really poor rollout, both in terms of like the reps like myself weren't even handed enough guidance to help advertisers through it, and it was in Q3 heading into Q4, and that's just the wrong time to roll out something for retail. So I think the most popular theory is that it's Google trying to merge all of their inventory together and then find a way to serve ads on junk inventory and blend it with branded search so that it looks good to the advertiser, but Google's actually getting people to spend a lot more by serving their ads on junk inventory. I don't think that to be true. I think it's honestly built for ease of use and simplicity for the average business. I think Google has to build for the average business, and by merging all these things together, it makes sense on paper that you'd want just one control, one campaign, tell it your objective and give it a budget and a bunch of assets and let it go figure it out. But people have this bad taste in their mouth about Google, and I think they go down the rabbit hole on their thoughts there. But to me, PMax is I think it's just a glorified DSA campaign. And if you use it to find new avenues for you to build search campaigns, YouTube campaigns against, and then force it to go and find new things, it's an amazing tool. It's like going and fishing, finding new pockets of opportunity that you can then build and control. That's how I like to use it and where I see the most success. I think when people rely on it, it can get a little out of hand, and then you just get that bad taste in your mouth and don't trust it.
No, that's some yeah, great insights there. And I also think the other thing I think where people have got a misunderstanding, this doesn't only go to Performance Max. I've always wanted to take a step back and actually look at, from as much information that we can get, why did Google create these type of campaigns, and then look at the rules and then kind of match it in, rather than, I think where a lot of people have got a bad taste in their mouth about it is they've tried to force Performance Max to do something that it was never designed to do. And one of the biggest things that I've always been really anti on, I don't know your view on this, so I'm hoping I'm not contradicting your belief on it, but where people set up different asset groups based around audiences, because you just can't force an asset group to only target one type of audience. And Google make it very clear about that. It was designed, the asset group functionality was designed to be able to put some product segmentation or service keyword segmentation in. You can't force it to only target certain audiences, and I think that's where a lot of people, and sometimes when they try to get Google to do something that it's a campaign that's not designed to do, it may work for 30, 60, 90 days, but then it falls off a cliff, and then
Yeah,
go, oh, well,
that's such
it's
a
not
good
working. It's Google's
audience
fault.
targeting is that's such a good example. I see that all the time. The audience start like 4 duplicated asset groups with different audience structures. Like they're thinking it's targeting, but it's just a signal. You should just load it all into one. I like your thought on trying to figure out what Google's trying to do in doing that. So my theory, or it's not my theory, but like keywords are clearly going away and moving into themes, right? Because like exact match is now matching to more things. Broad match worked better than ever. PMax is just the next level of that, where it's theme based, and you're guiding it towards the theme that you want to go towards. So if you're exactly right. If you're seeing what Google is planting and like you try to mirror that with your strategy, you'll be in a good spot. Like every time they roll something out, everyone on Twitter is complaining about it. But to me, I'm just like, oh, that just validates my theory. And yes, now we're on the right path because this is very obvious. Everyone's trying to turn off controls and all these other things, but no, it's the opposite. You should be going in there with their momentum.
And I think people, especially if you've been in Google Ads for a long time, we can just be so focused on the Google Ads dashboard and not focus on what's happening on Google search. And clear example of this came. I had lived over. We just spent 2 months over in Japan. So my whole, like for the previous 12 months of researching Japan and all of these,
Sure.
living over there for 2 months, my whole audience and like everything was obviously based around Japan. And then I came back within 2 weeks of coming back. There was an article in my local paper. A local councillor was wanting to restrict dog breeds and some more aggressive dog breeds. And so just there were some dog breeds I'd never heard of before. And the second one I typed I typed the first dog breed. The second dog breed I typed was a Japanese, I can't remember the second type of dog, but the Google recommendation was for nothing to do with like Japanese food or anything else I've been searching. After one dog-based search, it had the next recommended search was about this Japanese breed of dogs, and that was a real eye opener for me. Is a go.
Sure.
That's like I think a lot of Google advertisers haven't looked at all of these changes that Google has made inside of Google Ads and what the customer is doing, and that's where I think a lot of the misconceptions is around broad match. Is that they look at their search themes and they go, well, that search term's not relevant, but it's not taking into account what the user is seeing or what they're doing in their behavior.
Exactly right. And as it becomes more conversational, the actual search result is going to change. And PMAX is like an RSA on steroids, where it can just be fully dynamic and fit into whatever environment it will become, right? So you want to become adaptable to fit into different placements, where if you're back in your structured only doing RSAs or something, you're only going to be served in a little amount of inventory, where you need to adapt and see where this is going. So I think that's a phenomenal thread there.
Yeah. Hey, I'll just ask a quick follow-on theme on that. You just mentioned about search match types. So it'd be interesting to see your, I guess, when we talk about search campaigns, historically, you had obviously broad match, exact match, and phrase match. I mean, just out of pure curiosity for me and wanting to learn what other experts like yourself are doing, when you look at search themes, what search themes are you using? Are you using all three of them, or are you only using two, or only one type of those match types?
I'd say mostly broad, and then we have some exact.
Yeah. No, and that's the same principle I use. I'm just not using phrase anymore, because I to be honest, I don't see a difference between phrase and exact. And I think the only reason that Google has kept phrase in there is so that people don't complain too much. But in terms of functionality, there is no difference between exact and phrase anymore.
Yeah. If I had to choose one, I would choose broad. But because we can choose more than one, there's a place for exact for sure. And I think that's for newer accounts and also huge accounts. Exact definitely has a role.
Yeah, and especially if you are using dynamic, like I like to use a lot of dynamic keyword insertion, I do find exact really beneficial for that as well. So just on that one, following on, if you are so this is one because we're probably going to have some new e-commerce brand people watching this video. So if you, Ben, were to start a new e-commerce brand today, not taking into account any of the cost of goods sold and the e-commerce side of running it, when it comes to Google Ads, I guess what structure and what strategies would you use for a new e-commerce brand? This interview that you're watching with Ben Kruger right now is brought to you by my very own 10x Google Ads community. And I'm going to be biased, but I believe it is the best community where you can learn everything that you need to know about Google Ads right now. And inside of this community, not only do I release masterclasses every single month with extra teaching that I do not release on YouTube, plus we also run monthly live group coaching calls where I complete reviews from my community members, and then we also open up the floor for a question and answer session. But above all of that, you get access to my Google Ads private feed. And this is where you can ask any of your burning Google Ads questions. And not only me, but also my experienced Google Ads mentors, plus other members from the community will answer all of your questions. And as a special thanks for watching this video, if you want to see the full interview that I have with Ben, because what you're seeing right now is only a part of the interview that I recorded with Ben. If you want to see that full interview for free, all you need to do is to follow that link in the description below, and you will get instant access to this full interview with Ben. Plus, you also get a discount code if you want to find out more information about joining 10x Google Ads community. But right now, let's get back into the interview with Ben.
Yeah, I'd have really tightly themed experiences. So not like, I think pretty close to like a SCAG single keyword ad group approach, but just themed, right? So I'd have as few campaigns as possible, but a lot of ad groups within that campaign.
Yeah.
Where each ad group speaks to a specific angle or need, and then that ad reinforces the keyword as much as you can, and then the landing page is super specific and solves the need from that search query. So I would just go after like things that have high volume, that are really relevant to your business, that you think you have a chance on, probably exact match, and just like keep it really tight. Have some patience because it's going to take time, but I think I would try to find those spots and then ramp up.
Yeah, I think we're calling them stags now. The single
Yeah,
theme
yeah,
ad
yeah.
groups. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and I love what you say there. Can you just sort of expand a little bit more about patience for a new e-commerce brand owner? Because I know that's a common theme that I see all the time. People just don't give Google enough time. Yeah, so could you just expand out on what patience kind of looks like for a new campaign?
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple ways to answer that. I think first is like the conversion window, right? So a lot of accounts have a 30-day click-through conversion window. So that means you're giving Google 30 days to drive a conversion. And it's using that, right? So if you set a target ROAS, it's going to try to hit it over the 30-day period. So you really shouldn't expect to see results until you're at least out of that first window. Realistically, it's going to take learning and then maybe 2 more windows for things to start to come through. So like I'm a fan of lower conversion windows depending on the product, just to tighten that up. But I think just the way that it works, technically, it's doing its job. But when you look day over day, it's going to look ugly, but because it's not aligned to how the machine is operating. So that's one. And then another thought on patience is just like a lot of this traffic are people starting their research phase, or like they're unsure about what they have a need, but they don't know the solution. So just inherently where that customer is in their journey is going to take some time, depending on your product, of course. But like you got to have patience for that to come through as well. Like they got to go through the steps before they buy.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And it's always it's kind of that juxtaposition between it. Like Google is very immediate in the fact of you change your ad copy, you start seeing the live change, but the results take time. And the biggest thing that I always say to people is just I don't even really count the data over the last 7 days. I just don't really look at it because all the conversion data is not even in yet. You may not even have all of the spending data up to date. So let's just don't worry about what's happened over the last 7 days. And pretty much I only really look at, so for now, we're recording this, 15th of May, I think 14th of May for you. The data I'm only now looking at the data from April because I like to give it a little bit of extra time before we make a full call on what happened in April.
Yeah, I completely agree. Where I saw tons of people mess up is Black Friday period, right? Like
yeah.
I've seen so many people leave so much money on the table, specifically on Black Friday, because of that delayed attribution.
Yeah.
That, the ROAS isn't there. They're trying to do immediate media buying, but then we come back to work on Monday following Black Friday, and like the ROAS is 3 times higher than they wanted it to be, and they could have spent 10 times more. That's just like a really small. It's like the perfect environment to see that come to life. It's something you really got to understand to do this right.
Well, now that you sort of mentioned that, I'd like to ask you, how do you optimize around like target ROAS or target CPA in high volume sales periods? So like the Black Friday sales period that you mentioned.
It's tricky. To me, there's 2 ways to do it. I love your opinion also. You've got seasonality adjustments.
Yeah.
Which you can tell Google, hey, I'm expecting my conversion rate to increase. So act as if it's increasing. Right? So that will, in reality, it's just lowering your target ROAS, because ROAS is conversion rate and ROAS are correlated, right? So if your conversion rate goes up, your ROAS is going to go up. So that's your way to tell Google, I'm expecting an increase in conversion rate. I want you to act as if the conversion rate is going to be this. Like you could literally say it's going to be 3% over this 3-day period. Go be more aggressive than you think, because I'm telling you it's going to be higher. The negative to that is that the machine doesn't use that for future learnings. So it excludes that time period. So on your busiest weekend, Black Friday weekend, you're not getting any of the learning. So then the better way, because of that, would be to significantly cut your ROAS target but a lot of people are super hesitant to do that,
Yeah.
and therefore are stuck in this position where they leave the ROAS target where they want it to be, but then it comes in 3 times too high, and like they left a lot of volume on the table.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a yeah. No, that's one thing that because through that sales period, the conversion rate's going to be higher. So yeah, what you're wanting to do is like, would it be right in saying what you're saying there is you're basically taking the brake off to allow extra spending to happen because it's going to be like a safe road that you don't have to worry about a sharp turn. It's a safe road to get that done. Right. Yeah, that's a great way. Yeah,
right.
I definitely agree with that, and I'm a big believer in Google Ads. There's more than one way to skin a cat in that sense. So that's definitely a great way. The other thing that I've always looked at in Black Friday or high sales periods is one of my, I guess, major, warnings that I give to not only e-commerce brand owners but any brand that's coming into a sales period is it's not only about getting through the sale, it's about how your campaign's going to exit on the other side of it. So you see these people where they'll double, triple, quadruple budgets, and then there's always going to be a tail off after a sales period because you've brought some sales forward. So a good strategy that I like to use is I will scale those what I call always on campaigns through what you've said, lowering the ROAS and also increasing the budget. But I do that in a bit more of a systemized manner of 20% budget increases, things like that, like over a period of each week, just so then I can step down on it. So I use kind of a step up the ladder, step down the ladder. But then what I also do is I also use what I call promotional campaigns, which are campaigns that by design will only run for anywhere from 4 weeks to 3 months, depending on the brand, depending on the sale that they're running, all of those things, and they will be a collection of display shopping, video, and even things like dynamic search ads if they've got a set product page and a set promotion page. And I've just found that to be really successful because those campaigns, I'm not worried about the longevity of them. So I've got some extra volume through my always on campaigns, but then we're able to have a bit of a safe landing on the other side. But as I said, I think that's the biggest way is definitely look at lowering off that ROAS because the conversion rate's going to be higher.
Yeah, but you bring up a really good point. I think the end of the sale is probably more important than the beginning, especially with Google because we talked about that conversion window, right? 30 days. So if your sale's 7 days, ROAS is 10,000 or whatever, 1,000%. Google sees, oh my God, I'm killing it. I can really ramp up the spend. And then your sale ends, ROAS goes back down to normal. It doesn't realize it, and it has so much room to play with, and it'll just scale it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I think there's many ways to do it, but I think the biggest thing that I've always been mindful of is how we're going to exit the sales period. And that's why I've always liked to have an always on type of campaigns, and then my promotional campaigns. So the promotional campaigns, I don't really care as much about the longevity of them, and I don't want to, because I've seen some horror cases where it's taken, when we've picked up the account, it's taken sometimes 4 to 5 months to get their core campaign back onto a level footing, so to speak.
Crazy. Yeah, that's really good insight.